everything that was up. Can you shut that? That was the one drawback of up here. It's like my son plays video games very loudly. I don't know how much will be picked up on the stream, but we'll find out.
We are both family men, so I think that kind of goes with the territory.
For sure.
Is that going to be like our motto of our podcast? Rise up and celebrate your life.
And celebrate your life.
Yeah. We need to make this like a chalkboard wall so we can put like a different saying.
That's not a bad idea. We could hang one of the whiteboards.
Or a whiteboard, yep.
Yeah, that's actually an excellent idea. Hello, welcome. We're back this week with myself. You know what? We have an outline now, and so we're going to try to follow this in hopes of being organized, far more organized than we've been in the past, which isn't hard to do. So my name is Andre Davis.
I'm Patrick Conley.
And we are friends from a long time ago, and still friends now. And we're created this podcast of sorts. Originally, the show name was Just a Show. And then upon further research, there is a show called This Is Just a Show. So we'll get into figuring out today what the new name will be.
And one of the things I find, we'll talk about that more later on, but one of the things that's been very interesting is it's sort of like a band name. Like you're always like, oh, I come for the cool band name. But then when you're actually in a band, coming up with a band name's like really hard to do and you can't come up with anything good. I kind of feel like the podcast is the same. Like I can't, now that I'm actually creating a podcast, coming up with a name is very challenging. Harder than it should be.
Far harder than it should be. And because it really, for me, it's kind of one of those things. I don't necessarily want it to be something that I have to really think about because I'm not trying to market this and be the next superstar podcast star or anything. This is just for fun.
Whereas I have the opposite. I'm doing this strictly for fame and power and money. So
he has been pushing the financial side of it a lot. So any sponsors out there, feel free.
Bounce. By Bubbly Bounce. Yep.
A&W.
We could do it like the Dana Carvey show where they started getting like random sponsors for every episode and it was so bad that nobody wanted to sponsor them. So it'd be like, like 1 week it was Taco Bell and then the next week it was somebody else, but then it got like harder and harder for them to get a sponsor. We'll talk about that later. That's something that you should check out.
Oh, was that his talk show?
Yeah. Yeah. Remember when he left SNL and then he started a show and it had Steve Carell on it and it had, Colbert was on it. Okay. Like it was super talented. There's an awesome documentary on it. I'll tell you about it later, not to get us too off track, but
we've already strayed from
it's amazing. No, we're going back to that.
Back to it. So we've hit the first 2 points in the introduction, and our guest, if we had one, on the outline, we have it in a question mark. Eventually, we will get our friend Bubba on here. I'm not going to give him the dignity of his actual name at this point until he comes onto the show. He will just be known as Bubba. So that's that. We have had guests on in the past. I say that as if we've been doing this forever. We've had guests on. It's not always just the two of us, and it's not always Pat and I. I've had podcasts.
Well, it's always you.
It's always me.
Not always me, although I've been trying to make it more regularly.
Although I think you should do a solo one.
I don't think that would be very entertaining. I'm more of a part of a duo kind of thing. Like I'm like Garfunkel, where on my own I'm not quite as good. I need my Simon with me.
I think when you grow the hair out, you've got the Garfunkel.
That is true. That is true.
But that's just basically what the show is. It's just us getting together, talking about stuff. Typically, the intent of it is to just have conversations, get to know each other more, and share more with whoever may be interested. Because because that's important.
And it is fairly random in that, well, today we actually have an outline because we are evolving, as we've been talking about as a podcast, and we thought we should probably plan out something. Generally, we go way off track anyway, and whatever we think we're going to talk about, we don't usually end up talking about. It ends up being something totally random. So,
true story.
Yes.
So, with that introduction out of the way, let's just kind of move on into, you know what, here's how we're going to do this. We're just going to be straight up. This is the next segment. What's on our mind?
And this is where we'd have like some cool like sound, and like our producer would be like,
yeah, hey, you know what? I've got the keyboard and all this stuff here. I can start figuring out how to do that.
There you go.
One thing I do like about this setup, so we moved, physically, we did move from where we were recording before, outside in my garage. I had gone on vacation for a week and didn't really feel comfortable leaving all of my high-end equipment in the garage. I'm joking when I say high-end equipment.
Yes,
But I didn't want to leave all that stuff in the garage completely unintended. I'm pretty trusting, but not that trusting. So I moved everything inside, and then didn't really want to set everything up back outside. And winter is coming, so that would be very uncomfortable, I think. So we're going to try to see how this works out. I think this is a good setup. It's in my office, and it's been organized a little bit more. I now have a desk in the middle of my floor. Excuse me. But what I do like about this is you can see, Pat, maybe you notice the camera. It's like we can actually look at the camera now.
Yeah. I like this setup. It's good.
Yeah. Maybe something about that light there. You got a light shining right at your face.
Right off my face. I know I'm looking a little shiny.
No, it's not. Is that fine for you?
I need to do makeup, I think, before the next one.
We can, you know what we can do too? We can, if we want to get crazy, adjust the lights. Those are the Hue Philips color lights. So. Yeah. Do you have the automated lights at your?
We do not.
No. They're fun for a little bit, but then it just gets annoying.
That's what I kind of figured. I figured it'd be like neat at first, and then the shine would kind of wear off it.
Yeah. I do like the fact that you can automate like turning stuff on. So like while we were gone, I didn't worry about like the house just being dark all the time, and whoever the bad guys are in Westbrook, Maine, would come tearing down my doors because lights were automatically coming on and shutting off and all that good stuff. But so what's on your mind, Pat?
Now, what's on my mind right now are all the bad guys that are coming for me in my house because I don't have automated lights. Not much was on my mind. Today was sort of like one of our last days of summer vacation. So it was like, honestly, there was very little on my mind today. It was like, I'm going to read a book and just kind of chill. And
nice.
That was basically it.
What'd you read?
I am reading a book called The Pillars of the Earth, which is a historical fiction novel about, takes place in like medieval England, where this monk or the head of a monastery is trying to build a cathedral. And then there's like a lot of like politics and murder and stuff going on around that. But
is it like one of those kind of true to life historical fiction?
I don't know how historically accurate it is. I mean, my guess is the guy did a lot of research. It's an Oprah Book Club book, which is not why I picked it. I was going to read it anyway, and then found that out. I've just kind of gotten into some historical fiction over the last like 6 months or so. And so this is the next kind of evolution of that. Nice. So yeah, it's good. And I listen to it. I read the book, but then I also listen to it when I run and lift and stuff. And so I can like plow through the books pretty quickly.
Nice. So do you keep those in line? Like,
so what's cool, I use sponsors, so I use Audible by Amazon, and I also have a Kindle. And so they sync with each other. So when you listen to it, it updates the Kindle version. And when you read it on Kindle, it updates the audio version. So they're in sync with each other, which is kind of a cool.
That's pretty nice. Like,
feature.
I used to have Audible, and I never used that feature because I had Audible and I have a Kindle.
Yep.
But I would always just listen to the books, and I never did that whole back and forth.
Yeah.
That's probably a good idea.
But because I need something to do when I'm running. So I like to, I found I like listening to books, and it gets me through. I don't have I'm so busy during the school year because I'm a teacher And so I'm doing work most nights. And when I try to read at night, I fall asleep. So like I wasn't getting through books. I wasn't doing much reading. And so this was a way I found to like quickly, like dramatically increase how much reading I'm doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been really cool. Of course, you have to buy the book twice, which kind of makes it a little more expensive. And I like, like this one right now, I love going to Goodwill and buying books for like $1.50. So like I got this copy of the book for 50 cents at Goodwill. So I actually am doing the paper copy and I have to like find my spot and stuff. But,
that's interesting.
Yeah, good book.
Don't they have you seen the ones where, don't they have, I feel like I've seen the deals where you don't have to buy the book twice necessarily, but they're like, and add on the Audible version for.
Oh yeah, they probably do have some of that too.
Depends on what book it is.
Yep. So that's it.
So you guys you're done with your vacation pretty much. You're starting back.
We officially start back next Thursday, but teachers, we hit that time where we start going in, weeks before that to get our classrooms ready.
That's just you've been doing that for a bit, right?
Yeah. So we took today off, and our daughters had plans, so we had like the house to ourselves and just kind of chilled most of the day. And
nice.
So yeah, good day. How about you? What's on your mind?
Let's see. Work. I've not been on vacation because I don't work as a teacher.
Yep.
But just a lot of new project stuff coming out, new old project stuff. So it's been kind of nice. I was away for vacation for a week, and then coming back to it this week, it was kind of one of those things where while I was gone, everybody decided, hey, let's have these new ideas that we have to involve Andre in. Which is, I prefer it to not having anything to do. So that's been nice. Nice kind of getting back to stuff. Coming back from vacation and getting back into the swing of things here. The family, we went to Acres of Wildlife last week, and I forgot we started talking about this and we were not recording. So we went to Acres of Wildlife for a week, and then we had to cut it short because sickness, not COVID, fortunately, but we may have been patient zero for some other disease. I'm not writing that off the books yet. One of the boys has an ear infection. He's been taking antibiotics and stuff for that. And then the other one, his voice is changing anyway. Like the deep voice going on, laryngitis type setting in, which was kind of interesting and fun to listen to for the past couple of days. But I got this whole thing set up again when I came back. I reset up my music stuff. I've just kind of been in this creative swing lately, setting up, trying to produce music. Have you ever heard of FL Studio? You remember Fruity Loops?
Yeah.
So they've evolved into FL Studio. So there's a bunch more stuff with that. So I've been playing with that and mixing my fat beats. So that's been fun. And then drawing and stuff like digital art. I've been kind of messing around with data. I'm kind of, I want to get back into like start doing like t-shirt design stuff. So I had a couple ideas while I was at Acres and sketched those out. And then I was like, all right, well, I guess I got to learn how to put this digitally. And this past weekend was actually pretty fun, like messing around with that and keeping myself out of trouble from other things. So that was good.
Yeah. Very cool.
That's about where I'm at with what has been on my mind. Anything else on your mind?
No, nothing else.
All right, we're moving right on to the next segment.
So I thought before we got into new stuff this week, I think that one thing that we need to do is sometimes go back and revisit some of our conversations from the week before. Because one thing we've established is that we are not experts on most anything that we talk about on here, and that we also do not do any research whatsoever usually heading into some of these conversations.
Sure.
So I like to what I find is that oftentimes I like to go home and then sort of on my own start digging into some of the things that we talk about. So one of our conversations last week was songs that were created for movies. You brought up talking about Eminem and Venom and whether that was made for the movie Venom or not. And
still do not research that.
yeah, I didn't research that one either. But and I suggested that my favorite movie song that was created for a movie was Bat Dance by Prince.
Yes.
But that got me thinking about what are some other songs that were created specifically for movies. So not songs that were already existed but were taken for a movie, but ones that were, made specifically for it. So I started asking people. One of the things that came up was a lot of people were saying like the Star Wars theme, but to me that's totally different. That's like composing, that's like a different type of music. Right. I'm talking like a pop song or something. Mm-hmm. And so I got some suggestions from people, and I just wanted to run some of these by you. It's actually a pretty big list, and there's a lot of songs I didn't even realize, which I think is kind of cool. So one that I should have thought of because it's such a popular movie right now, but Danger Zone for Top Gun. Like was a pretty
that's
good song. The theme from Shaft.
You know what? That's a great soundtrack overall. And we'll go back to actually Top Gun. Kenny Loggins.
Yep.
I almost said Kenny Rogers.
Yep.
Definitely not Kenny Rogers.
No.
But Kenny Loggins, like that's a really good soundtrack overall with the songs in there.
Yep. Theme from Shaft. So that's from the movie Shaft.
Yeah.
In case you weren't sure. Yeah. I Have the Tiger. Yes. Rocky. We didn't think about that one. I wouldn't say that's one of my favorite songs, but definitely an iconic.
What about from the Rocky universe? Like, is that your favorite song from the Rocky? Do you know of any other songs?
I don't probably know of any other songs from the Rocky universe.
Which Ain't No Easy Way Out. No Easy Way Out when he's driving in the car. That's a great one.
I probably have not watched enough Rocky yet. I mean, I've seen the Rocky movies, but I probably need to revisit those.
Oh, we gotta do a marathon.
Ghostbusters theme song from Ghostbusters. I mean, that's pretty classic.
Oh, what about from Ghostbusters 2, Bobby Brown?
Oh yeah.
I can't remember the name of the song. Where is it? Too hot to handle, too cold to hold. They call Ghostbusters in control. Yeah. Yeah. I don't remember the name of the song
though. Rainbow Connection from the Muppet movie. Yeah, I mean, that's a good song. Okay, one I was shocked you didn't bring up because it's from your favorite movie.
Yeah,
Don't You Forget About Me, from the Breakfast Club.
We didn't talk. So did we go through a list last week or last time?
I think we were just talking about
right.
What's the best song that was made for a movie?
Yeah,
and I had said Bad Dance, but that's one that I think is.
I love that song.
A good song.
And what I always want to say it's Simple Minds, but it's not Simple Minds that sings that song. I can't remember who it is.
No, I think it is Simple Minds.
Oh, it is Simple Minds. Who do I always? Well, I got it right. It's good.
Let's see. Gangster's Paradise. Again, not saying that's the best, but that's a pretty cool song. I like that song.
I have fond memories of going to the theater to see that.
One of Andrea's suggestions was 9 to 5 from the movie 9 to 5.
Dolly Parton.
And you got to love Dolly Parton because as a teacher, she does her whole like books for kids thing, which is pretty kick-ass. So props to her. Some classic Staying Alive, Saturday Night Fever, Mrs. Robinson from The Graduate.
Mrs. Robinson is a great song.
That is. It's like a classic, like very popular song. Purple Rain. We were talking about Prince, and we didn't even think about Purple Rain. One I didn't realize was from a movie, Knocking on Heaven's Door.
Really?
Yeah, it's from Bob Dylan, from Pete Garrett and Billy the Kid.
Pat Garrett?
That's Sheriff Pat Garrett. Got a shot, Billy the Kid. But
is that the name of the movie?
Yeah, Pat Garrett.
Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid.
Who's
in that?
I don't know.
It's got to be an older one, I guess.
Yeah, it's like from the 70s, maybe. Okay, this is another one I didn't think of, but totally would have been a good one. Fight the Power.
Was that for that?
That was for that movie. Yes. Okay. Yeah. So that
I don't know if I've ever seen Do the Right Thing all the way through.
I don't think. I haven't seen it either, but
that's one with Danny Aiello and it's a Spike Lee joint.
Yeah, Spike Lee.
That much.
Yep. But that's a great song.
How often do you get to say that Spike Lee joint?
Yeah. I had a suggestion for Everything I Do by Bryan Adams.
Which skipped over.
Oh, sorry. I believe. Well, so that's when I was a little torn about putting on the list. R. Kelly, I Believe I Can Fly, was from the Space Jam soundtrack. R. Kelly, not very upstanding citizen.
The only reason I said that was because when I was reading through the list, because you made a comment about it, R. Kelly, before, and we're like, I don't know if we can talk about R. Kelly.
Well, the reason I put that on the list is because in high school, we had a version of that I think you created that was, I Believe Pat is Fat.
Did I create that?
I don't somebody in our group did, because we knew I was fat, but some of our lady friends didn't believe I was fat because I hit it apparently well, and didn't walk around my shirt off. Back in those days.
Thinking back, I wouldn't classify you as fat.
Yes, I was just maybe a little doughy, a little soft, maybe soft.
Yeah. I mean, as soft as any of us, really.
Yes, back in the day. It probably wasn't until I went to college and put on like 30 pounds in the first semester that I really qualified as. Yeah. All right. Anyway, Everything I Do, Bryan Adams. Again, super popular back in the day. That was like a huge song.
That was on my wedding playlist.
Oh, was it? Mm-hmm. There you go. On my wedding playlist, we had the song Laid by Matt Nathanson. And there's a line in that song that says, "She only comes when she's on top," which was a fun lyric because we gave out these CDs to everybody and we didn't really think about the words of the song. And then we were like, oh, so my, Andrew's great grandmother is listening to.
Now, were the lyrics written out?
No, but it's pretty.
It's like right out there.
Yeah. All right. What else do we have on there? Flashdance has a couple with Maniac and What a Feeling. Yeah. My Heart Will Go on the Titanic. That would have been Jared's favorite one on the list. Power of Love from Back to the Future. That could be a contender.
As much as I hate Huey Lewis, I like.
How do you hate Huey Lewis?
I had a bad experience.
Is this when you guys went down to
Florida? We went down to Florida. There was a New Year's concert going on there. Huey Lewis and the News was playing, and I tried to get through the crowd. And it's not against Huey Lewis; it's his fans, really.
He is known for having some pretty, crazy.
And you're trying to be polite, get through, and I said, "Excuse me," to this woman, and she just looked at me and flat out said, "No." So all I could do.
I wonder what you call Huey Lewis fans.
Huey-nots? Huey-acts?
News something? I don't know.
Newsboys.
Anyway, they are some pretty scary individuals, not very polite. Live and Let Die is a pretty, although I prefer the Guns N' Roses version, but that was from a James Bond. Live and Let Die.
The Beatles, right? Did they
Paul
McCartney?
Paul McCartney, yeah. Paul McCartney. What else do we have on there? All right, this was another one from Andrea, which, again, when I was looking at some of the lists of top songs, did not make the list, but I've Had the Time of My Life from Dirty Dancing. Yeah. That was written for that song. That's pretty.
I didn't realize that was written for that.
That was written for that movie.
Patrick Swayze didn't sing that, did he?
No, he did not.
He did some other song for that, though, right?
Yes, he did. I can't remember which one.
So I added some after.
I can see that. Yeah.
And this is one that you didn't mention last time.
Yeah.
And I was surprised that the Goonies are good enough.
Oh, Good Enough, Cyndi Lauper. Yeah. And we did talk about that when we did our Monster Squad.
Yes.
Yeah. We were comparing Monster Squad versus Goonies, and we talked about theme songs and which one.
So that did come up then.
Yeah.
And then so it's right. You mentioned at the beginning, you didn't count John Williams as.
Yes. But I can see you put some of those in there.
And I thought about that because I was looking at your list, and I was like, well, yes, I like all of those songs, but there are some really good composed songs that just kind of give you a good feel for the movie as opposed to Star Wars doesn't. I mean, it's a good song, like the Star Wars theme and all that, but it doesn't give me a feel for the movie. It's just cool.
Yeah,
but I'm Electro from Amazing Spider-Man 2, Hans Zimmer and Junkie XL and Pharrell Williams, and they call themselves the something six. There's the whatever to kind of go with the Spider-Man thing, but it just fits with Electro and stuff, and it fits with the movie. I remember when that soundtrack had come out, Microsoft had Microsoft Groove or Microsoft Music or whatever, some subscription service, and I could get the new releases every Tuesday, and I picked up that one, and I don't want to say fell in love with it, but it was really cool. but I really like that one. Yeah. The RoboCop theme always that's one of those songs that just pops into my head all the time. And then the Terminator theme, which is really, really cool too. Just that dun 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 dun. And I think it's either the Terminator theme or the Halloween theme. One of those is, it might be the Terminator theme, but the timing is awkward. Like the way that it was written. So instead of, usually music's in 4/4 time.
Right. Yep.
It's in 5/4 time. And so it gives you
Yep.
that uncomfortable feel
Right.
to it.
Yeah.
And I can't remember if it's the Terminator one or the Halloween one, but either way. But Terminator theme was John Williams. The Escape from New York theme. I don't know if you're familiar with it. I can never like think of it off the top of my head. I had to look it up because I remember. Oh, I love that theme too. Because watching the movie, you're like, starts off, you're like, oh yeah, I forgot. John Carpenter's pretty awesome.
Yep.
And then In the House in a Heartbeat is from 28 Days Later.
Okay.
Have you seen that?
I have not.
That's a really good movie. And that's another one that I can't think of off the top of my head. But look up those themes.
Okay.
And listen to them. They're
very cool.
They're great.
So anyway, there's nothing that knocked Prince, the Bat Dance off the top of my list, which I'm not saying is the best song. That's my favorite song that was written for a movie. But there are a lot more out there that I hadn't thought about. So it's cool, like talking to people and getting their suggestions this week and just following up on that.
That's a good idea. Yep. I'm trying to think. Bat Dance is pretty great.
I just thought I was actually listening to it on the way over here, and I was thinking the next time I go for my run, even though I usually read my book, I'm going to put on the whole Batman soundtrack and listen to that.
Was that like a famous composer that did that? Was like a Hans Zimmer joint or something like that, or was that just
what, Bat Dance?
Not Bat Dance, but like the whole soundtrack.
I think the whole soundtrack was Prince.
Was it?
Yeah, I think he did the whole thing. That was like the big deal back in the day. Was that he did the whole soundtrack.
Like, does he have instrumentals and stuff on there? Because I can't think of like too many music things from there. Huh? Was there like Vicky Vale?
That's from Bat Dance.
Yeah. That's in Bat Dance.
They use like tons of like audio cuts from the movie. It's mostly that, and then Prince comes on and starts
doing the fuck up.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah. Ooh, yeah.
That is great.
That body. I'm gonna bust that body. That's what I said. All right.
So on to this week, our reviews, which we just threw this up here. There was only one thing that we had actually planned to review, and then I wanted to pass along the book "I Drink for a Reason" by David Cross. It's an old book, a few years old.
You can't see it. There we go.
I just finished reading it last week. My wife got it for me. And it's probably the best book she could have gotten for me because I like the format of it. It's basically just quick essays, like very short essays that are really, really funny. And there's a great section in there once you get to the end. Well, there's a couple. He talks about Larry the Cable Guy. Hilarious. And
is he a fan of Larry the Cable Guy or not? I would go with no. Would be my guess. Yes. Okay.
Apparently they had some beef.
Oh, all right.
And the reason I like how he goes across, I mean, he's very clear about why he has an issue, and he has kind of republished things like open letters that were written and all this stuff, and then apparently he also has beef with Jim Belushi. Okay. Which is also hilarious to read about.
I was gonna say the John Belushi one, he should probably just let go at this point.
But I highly recommend. Go ahead and read that.
He doesn't strike me as the kind of guy that would probably like hold back his thoughts and feelings on things. So I could see him having beef with people because I could see him kind of just being like,
I love his stand up and a lot of the stuff.
Oh yeah, no, I'm a big David Cross fan too. I've really enjoyed his things.
I forgot that he did Wonder Shows in, and there's another one that I forgot that he done. He's been in so much. I was looking it up. Oh man, it's been around for a while.
He often I can't remember what we were watching the other day, and it was something totally random, and he just pops up as a character. He's in a lot of just random stuff, but cool.
Definitely good stuff. Did you watch The Humanity Bureau?
I did. I watched it last night. Yeah. So
I also watched the Humanity Bureau.
I'm gonna let you kick this one off because this was your suggestion that we want. First of all, how did you come across the Humanity Bureau? I think is an important part of.
So this at some point last week or whatever, I was flipping through trying to find a different movie on Amazon Prime, and as I was going through, I saw the little title screen for the Humanity Bureau came up. It's a Nicolas Cage movie, Nick Cage, however he's going by that name. But I thought, well, this looks interesting. I haven't seen this Nick Cage movie cross my path yet, and it had 4 stars on
out of
5 on Amazon Prime.
That seems unlikely.
It did. Well, that was one of the things I was like, this is weird because usually I can't imagine a Nicolas Cage movie that's kind of essentially a straight to DVD movie.
Yeah. Right. We're not talking about Leaving Las Vegas or.
Oh, I do want to see his new one, the one that.
Yes, where he plays himself.
Yeah. But I'm always up to try something new, and there was only 471 reviews, so that should have.
And 470 of them were Nicolas Cage, right?
Gotta boost this. I can review for days.
Yeah.
And then you informed me that it had a 22% score on Rotten Tomatoes, which made more sense to me. And I thought, well, let's just give it a try. The movie is set in the future. It's post-apocalyptic. The Humanity Bureau is a organization, a government organization, I guess would be the best way to describe it, that I really didn't know for sure what exactly their role was, other than to get rid of the undesirables, I think it was, or
basically get rid of people that could not pull their own weight in society, essentially, right?
But
or is that just a front for getting rid of people they didn't want?
Well, I think, I don't know. They were bad guys. They were big bad government, and they were out. And there's a city, apparently, that has people who have, and there are people who don't live in the city and do not have. And the Humanity Bureau has technology that tracks people somehow. And Nick Cage goes out to find this one undesirable family, and it's like kind of like a welfare program. Like they check in on them to make sure that.
Well, essentially, his job is to decide whether or not they can stay, whether or not they're capable of. Basically providing for themselves and giving back to society. And if they can't, then they have to be relocated to this place called New Eden. So his job is to make that determination. And the whole premise is that because of global warming and nuclear meltdowns and everything, that there's not enough food and resources to go around. And so that's why they have to see, can these people be self-sustaining and give back to the community or the country as a whole? And if they can't, we're going to relocate them.
And that's where I didn't quite understand, like, these people that are living outside.
Yeah.
How are they giving back to the rest of society? They seem so detached. But that kind of gets into the details, and one of the reasons why I was like, I don't really get what's going on with this movie. I mean, for me, the movie, at the end of it, I liked the end. Mm-hmm. But it's hour and a half or however long it is, and the last, I had to stop during the first part of it.
Yeah.
Like, all right, I'll come back to this. And
it certainly didn't hold my attention very well either. So there were parts where I had to like either rewatch or kind of go back to it later on, like you were saying. Yeah.
I feel like, but when it got to the last 30 minutes or so, I was like kind of hooked at that point. I was like, oh, this is interesting. And I feel like whoever wrote the movie or had the idea for the movie, had a premise, like
Mhm.
had just this one core idea, or maybe just like this one scene, this thing playing out. Like, what if this, and then they couldn't quite figure out how to get there.
Mhm.
So it's like, we'll just do this, and that, and we'll get there, and then it was really good. But
So my take on it was that I kind of felt similar to what you were saying. Like, I think there was an idea there. I think that the idea wasn't necessarily a bad idea. Like, I feel like the idea could have been a pretty entertaining movie. I think there are parts of it that weren't necessarily super original, but like, it wasn't a bad concept. The execution of it was really, really poor. In that, like, I think there are some pacing issues where they just kind of like were jumping into things, and like they were. I don't want to give too much away because all these people that are watching us right now are going to be running out to watch. But like, okay, spoiler: the place they're relocating people to is not like a nice place like they portray it, right? And I don't think anybody's shocked by that, but they like make that like a big reveal in like the first 5 or 10 minutes of the film. And it was like, okay, and then suddenly now he's on this whole new kind of adventure trying to save people, and it just kind of came out of nowhere. And there are similar things like that where like things just kind of escalate, or I don't know, it was kind of strange. And I don't think the acting was necessarily super strong. The bad guy, I liked, who literally like, so the Humanity Bureau, which Nicolas Cage is a part of, they dress all in black, and I'm like, why are they all dressing in black with like trench coats on? Like, that seems kind of strange and dramatic for a government agency to be doing that.
It's that fascist movement,
right? And then they have like these super fancy like iPhones essentially that can like have holograms and do all these things, but then like the cars they're driving around in are like these awful. He's driving El Camino.
So yeah, the timeline of it. What is it, like 2045,
right?
Something like that. So they talk about, there's a scene in there where he's got the El Camino, and
he also has like a Monet painting in his apartment, which
Yeah.
I thought was really. And then they never really talk about why he has a Monet painting in his apartment.
They don't talk about
a lot of things. No, they're kind of like, is that a Monet? And he's like, yeah. And the guy's like, oh. And then they never mention again. Somehow we end up with one of the most famous paintings in the world that would cost millions of dollars.
And also, those guys, because it was his friend, right? The bald guy?
Yes.
Because they're supposedly really good friends. So that was kind of weird that he's in the apartment that he must have been in before.
Right.
So is that a Monet? He's never seen it before.
Who, by the way, again, is a villain in the film, and complete with like an eye patch. Like, and then at one point in the film too, he has an eye, like a glass eye, but it's totally random because for the whole movie he's wearing an eye patch. Yes. So why is the glass eye suddenly like a big, it was just sort of a convenient thing for that part of the movie, I guess.
And stuff out.
Yeah.
But so there's the El Camino, which is like Kit at that point.
Yeah.
Like it talks and all that stuff. So it's not really that old, I guess. But they've upgraded it. But there's a scene in there where they get a station wagon. I'm looking at that station wagon. I'm like, I barely see station wagons like that now.
Right.
Like, how is that survived?
And how? Yeah. What happened? You would think so. Okay, there's this huge climate crisis and nuclear, holocaust or whatever. But the only vehicles that survive it are ones from like the 70s and early 80s, and nothing more recent than that survives. It doesn't make any
electric cars
sense.
did not make it.
Yeah. So that was definitely something that was strange. I was just looking through my notes here. Yeah, I mean, there are just a lot of kind of
one note about, you mentioned the acting. That kid is amazing. Yeah. The kid in the movie, he's I don't know, his characterization as like, he like tries to be that snarky kid.
Yeah.
But it comes off very annoying most of the time. But I love how Nick Cage's character like shows that annoyance. Like that's part of the thing.
One thing I I thought was pretty interesting. So at one point, the kid breaks out this line and he says, "Happy endings only happen in storybooks. Giants always step on little people." And I was like, what kid do you know that would come out with something like that?
He's grown up
profound.
a lot.
Yeah. I did think that, so I did not enjoy most of the movie. But I did think like the last, I wouldn't even say half hour, but like the last 10 minutes maybe, there was a part where I was kind of like, oh damn, like that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and maybe my timing was off.
And maybe a little surprising, like caught me off guard because I can't give it away, but like something happened that I didn't expect to happen. I was like, oh, that's cool.
If you don't want to waste an hour and a half, just fast forward because you're really not going to miss anything.
Yeah. One thing I did find out. So Nicolas Cage plays Noah Cross in the movie, and so I was looking up like facts about the movie and stuff, and apparently that is a reference to the film Chinatown because the main character in Chinatown was also Noah Cross, but spelled with a C, whereas the one in Humanity Bureau, Nicolas Cage, was a K. And so, but I was kind of thinking, okay, so you've got this low budget, straight to DVD movie, and you're throwing in a reference to like this highly acclaimed film Chinatown. Like it just seemed a little bit like,
Well, he's in the know.
Right. I guess it would be kind of like all those films we used to make back in the day and then making reference to like, I don't know, Casablanca or something.
Well, so you mentioned all those films that we made back in the day. Like that was one of the things I really enjoyed about watching it was like, dude, I could make this. Like anybody could make this movie. And I don't mean, I'm not tearing down the writing. I think I love any movie. Anybody puts anything out like that. I think it's funny, some of the things that come through. But the production value of it was just on the cusp of like being filmed with a camcorder with a phone.
And you knew it right from the beginning because it starts off with a driving scene, and it had some of the worst like. You could just tell how fake the driving scenes were. I was just like, oh, and it is not done in like a cool, like Tarantino, like, I'm making it look clearly fake kind of way. It was like, no, this is just low budget. You know what I mean? Yeah. And maybe that's why the cars are like all these old like cars and stuff, because they're not driving around in, super high luxury cars or anything.
Right.
What can they get their hands on? One of the other things that stuck out to me was there's a scene at the beginning where the kid walks in. He's at the family's house judging whether they should be relocated or not. And the kid walks in and he's like, oh, what kind of gun do you have? And so he takes out the gun and he like gives it to the kid. And I'm like, who the hell gives a gun to some strange kid? Like if I walked into a room and some guy had just given my kids, even if it's unloaded or whatever, it's like, I don't want my kids like, handling, like maybe you should check with mom and be like, hey, can he check out my gun? Like,
but he's part of Humanity Bureau. He's got that power.
So I thought that did not seem very realistic. But
no, there's a lot in that movie. The gas station dude.
Oh yeah.
So they encounter somebody in a gas station. A conflict happens, and this I don't know, like there's a big turnaround point they have this understanding, this immediate understanding at one point, and I don't know if it's a matter of the gas station guy got scared because he was threatened, and then all it took was that, are you a good family man or something like that? He was like, trying to be. And all of a sudden, the gas station guy was all on board to help this guy, literally risking his life to help this guy.
Right, like immediately. Yeah. So anyway, it was interesting. Like clearly, the writer had some points he was trying to make about climate, about government, about and very strongly, clearly trying to make them. I just think. It's unfortunate that it wasn't done in a better way. Because
I'd like to see a sequel.
Well, that would be kind of tricky. I probably wouldn't star Nicolas Cage.
No, it definitely. Spoiler alert.
There are some Nicolas Cage movies though that I think would be worth checking out. You'd mentioned the one where he plays himself that came out recently. That's when it's also on my list of movies to see. There's a movie called Pig. that I've heard is. Have you seen it?
I've heard it's really good.
I've heard it's really good. So that might be one to check out when we want to watch like a actually highly rated, highly acclaimed Nicolas Cage movie.
So one of my friends, Jess, is like a huge fan of Nicolas Cage, and she had mentioned Pig.
Why?
We all have our things. Nicolas Cage is really. I don't have a problem with his good movies. Like he went through a straight to DVD phase. What's that? Face Off's good. Leaving Las Vegas is good. Raising Arizona is good.
Con Air is
good. And they're good movies, and Nicolas Cage does a good job in it. You can expect Nicolas Cage.
The problem is, whenever I watch a Nicolas Cage movie, he's one of those actors that, to me, he's like always Nicolas Cage, and I can't get away from the fact that I'm watching Nicolas Cage. I can't get lost in the movie, so to speak.
And I find that with a lot of actors.
Like big names.
There's very few actors that I can. So Christian Bale is an actor who is a great actor. I see him in movies, and I don't necessarily recognize him as Christian Bale immediately. But John Cusack's another one that is. I see John Cusack as John Cusack, but I love John Cusack movies. So, Pig. Who did I was talking to her. She had mentioned that, and I was like, "Is that basically like John Wick with a pig? Like that's what it sounds like." It's basically John Wick with a pig. So I'm all in,
which is awesome. I like the guy going crazy because they took his pig.
Yeah. I mean, a little bit more interesting than the dog, I guess.
Now. So one of the first things I did when you suggested that we watch this movie is I went on Rotten Tomatoes. I look it up and I see what the score, the ratings are. My wife is very anti doing that, and she had we get along with most things, but this is something we actually butt heads about. Is she will often suggest a movie or a show. I'll go look at reviews of it and stuff, and then I'll either say, yes, I want to watch it, or no, I don't. And then she'll get really mad at me if I don't want to watch something because it has bad reviews. Mm-hmm. So where do you fall on that? Do you think I'm going to look at reviews first and make a judgment on watching something based on that? Or do you think you shouldn't, and you should just go into it?
I am Team Andrea on this one.
Okay.
Because I run into the same thing with Candy. I'll say, do you want to watch this movie? And should we let's watch the trailer? I don't want to watch the trailer.
Yeah.
I just want to watch the movie because historically, I think I don't know if trailers have changed so much over the years, but I know for a long time you could watch a trailer and see the whole movie.
Right. Yes. I don't love that.
And stuff gets given away, and the only Marvel movies have done a good job of not giving stuff away. They'll show the stuff that's going on, and you might think that you know what's going on, but they're very good about, this is not what's going on. So those are the only exceptions I've had with it. I'll watch those because I can trust those. But all the other trailers that I see come out, I don't want to have stuff taken away. And as far as reviews go, a lot of the times after I watch a movie, I'll read I like to read the reviews after I watch a movie just to see what
people's thoughts are.
Versus my thoughts. And a lot of the time, our thoughts do not match. So I don't want to go into a movie with a bias to say if I read this movie was bad because XYZ, or this movie was really, really good, and get my hopes up, and then I watch it and all excited for the movie, and it's this is not that good. Because it's all subjective.
So my thing is, I don't want to waste my time watching a 2-hour movie that's terrible. I'd rather watch something that's going to be good. And so I always look and see. I don't necessarily have to read a lot of critic reviews, but I kind of like to get a general sense of are people saying this is something that's entertaining, or are people saying this is terrible? And then I make a judgment about whether I want to watch it. Part of this might be that my wife just has terrible taste in a lot of movies. She pulls out these random movies that I've never even heard of, and she'd be like, "Oh, I've heard it's really good." And I think her source is People Magazine or something. You know what I mean? So which then I want to be well, so it's okay for you to hear that it's good from somewhere, but I can't go to my sources to check and see. But anyway, so just as an aside,
so recommendation to recommendation,
right? Exactly.
Yeah.
But I am very much I want to know
So when you watch a movie, it sounds like time is like important to you in that. Like, what do you enjoy about a movie? Like, is it like for me when I watch a movie, I'm really into like the story and stuff. So if a movie's got a good story, I can push a lot of the other stuff away.
Yeah.
Like Humanity Bureau, very tough to get through, but I could play with the story for a little bit and just kind of like, all right, this acting's not great and the CGI is pretty crap over here, but I'll ride with it for a little bit. And then once it got to that that end part where it's like the story really like kicks in, and it all tied together, it's like, oh, this was worth my time. In the end. So what do you?
For me, it's basically nudity.
Striptease.
There you go. So if it doesn't say mature and for no, I mean, I don't know. It depends on what kind of movie I'm talking about. So, but
that's a good point too.
Yeah. I don't feel like I'm super picky when it comes to stuff like that. It's just, I like to know, and then that goes along with everything. I'm like, when I'm shopping for something, I'm going to over research what I'm shopping for. And a lot of times it comes back, to be honest with you, and bites me in the ass. Like I still remember, back when iPods first came out, right? And that was like a big deal. And, so I was looking into getting an iPod, but I was also researching some of the other portable music players that were out there. And I think I ended up getting like the Creative, it was at the Zune or something. I got something like that because it got some really good reviews. I'm like, haha, I'm going to outsmart everybody and get that. And then, iPods became like the biggest thing. And I've got this piece of junk that, so that, and I feel like that happens a lot too, where I over rely on those things and then make overthink my choices sometimes.
You found the review that was paid the most money.
Yeah. All right. What else do we got?
The Rehearsal.
Rehearsal.
Have you been watching that?
I have been watching it.
I love that show. It's so good. What do you think of it?
Well, we talked a little bit about this last time. I like it. My wife refuses to watch it with me, so I've been watching this one on my own. I actually had to finish it right before I came over because I fell asleep watching it.
Oh, really?
It's sort of my after midnight show, and my wife's asleep, and then I can kind of put on something. So I have been enjoying it, but a lot of my enjoyment has been coming out of figuring out exactly what it is. More so, like we talked about this last time. Like, is it scripted or is it really a reality show? I'm on it's all scripted kind of thing. It's faker than they're trying to let it on. Like it's kind of like a play on us kind of thing. So yeah, I thought that was interesting. Originally, I think I mentioned this to you too, I was a little kind of taken aback at like, are they making fun, like putting these weird people on display just to kind of like for entertainment value versus, but I have less concern about that now. And it's more just trying to figure out what it is. I love the fact, like the levels they go to of, it's like peeling back the onion of like, so we simulated this inside of this simulation. And I thought that was really cool. The one where he had the acting academy. Yeah. I was like 2 episodes ago. I thought was really kind of interesting when he was, it started off with trying to get one of his actors to be able to get in the head of the person that he was, stalking essentially and trying to mimic. And then he starts acting it out to see what it's like from that guy's perspective, but then he gets involved, like he moves into the guy's apartment. Like I love how there's those layers to it. And essentially, if this was a legit thing that he was trying to do, you could never actually fully immerse yourself in and rehearse. Like it just, the whole concept wouldn't work because you could never, take yourself out of that.
And that would be part of it too. If it's, if it's real or fake, whatever, like that's kind of the point. And then some of the stuff they do, like with in the last episode where he fell in the shower, and so got a little bit wet and all that stuff, and so obviously the absurdity behind that,
and it becomes more and more absurd as you go. So like it's sort of
I think that last episode was great, and I think the ending of that episode, I laughed out loud at that part, the joke at the end where it's, you've got a platform. Well, going on, without giving too much away. But yeah, I think that's a great show. You've got more episodes, right? Or is that?
Oh no, it's not over.
Okay,
that's just the most recent one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've started going back and watching some of you've already seen all his other stuff, the Nathan For You.
Yeah.
So I've been watching that. I guess there's another, it's not him, but there's a similar one. I can't remember what it's called.
The one, something in a van with Joe, H. John.
Yeah.
Anyway, I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
He's the guy that did Archer voice.
Yeah, but I definitely think it's his way, his think. I think he's very kind of brilliant in his way of thinking about things and approaching things and sort of a different concept.
John H. Benjamin.
Yes. Yeah.
I looked up his YouTube channel, like see some of his older videos and stuff. And it's pretty funny stuff. Like it's interesting to see it, and it's very I don't know, it's what you would expect.
Is it the same kind of thing where he plays this sort of like awkward kind of?
No, they're more like sketches and stuff.
Okay.
He does. So, and then I heard him on. I was listening to some podcast that he was on years ago.
Yep.
Back when Nathan For You first came on, and he was talking about the whole pig saving the goat thing. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah. When he made the viral video. Yep.
Yeah, and he talks about that whole thing and like how it came about, and he goes into detail of how they had to set it up and all that stuff. It's really interesting to listen to, and I was like, I really did not expect.
Does he come off the same way he does in Nathan For You and in the rehearsal as sort of that? Because he definitely comes off as somebody who's sort of socially awkward and like, is that his personality? Is that a character he's playing? Like
it's from what I gather, it's his personality is just not to level 11.
He emphasizes,
and he talks about that, like he's not necessarily comfortable doing a lot of the stuff
that he's done.
But he does mention, I'm playing a character.
Yeah.
At some point, so there's definitely a line of reality that's smudged at least.
Yeah.
So,
but I sort of like this sort of intentional smudging of that line versus like shows that totally are trying to play it as like, I can think, a lot of reality shows are much more scripted than they would ever let, want you to believe, but like,
where they're doing cuts.
And right.
And
let's
stuff. Try this again.
Right. And I don't think this one's pretending to not be doing that kind of thing. So
that's very, I like it.
Yep.
All right. So in the news, we're going news.
Okay.
So what's news with us? What's new with us? I guess I'll start.
I'm hoping you do, because I saw laundry soap on there and I was really fascinated by what that would be all about.
I am going into the laundry soap business. Underneath the desk there, I won't pull stuff out, but so last year I started making my own laundry soap. I just looked up a recipe online.
Okay. And what prompted that?
It's cheap.
Okay.
So you spend $30 or so for the ingredients, and that tub lasted me about a year. Like it supposedly yields 320 loads. You can use a tablespoon per load, which is about what I use, and it truly did last me for like a year. And so I was going to make another one. I was like, you know what? I see about selling this stuff. So LaFontaine Market down the street over there. Have you been there?
No.
It's pretty nice. Do you know where it is?
No.
It's where, you remember the pawn shop was?
Yes.
It's in that.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, I wonder if I could sell it over there. So I went down there the other day and brought a little, that jar right there. Brought a little sample down, and I was like, hey, I got some laundry soap that I've been making. I was wondering if I could sell it here. She's like, yeah, bring in a sample. I was like, I have one here. So she bought that off me, and then she's like, yeah, I'll try it out, and if you want to bring in some more. So I came home, made up the rest of the batch, got the ingredients that have to make up the rest of the batch, and like brought over some more jars. She priced them up, put them out. She's like, yeah, come check it out. So I'm in the laundry soap game, folks. I'm thinking, I don't have a name or anything for it, But I've been thinking of some ideas. Delicate shades is
Oh
one,
yeah, I like that.
because the batch that I made now is pink, a delicate shade of pink.
Yeah.
And the other one I thought of was Mason Street Soap Company, and in homage to Fight Club, Paper Street Soap Company.
Yep.
He does that. But I think I might go with Delicate Shades. That's a pretty good one. And feel free to take that home, Pat, and try out
some soap.
Yeah, you only need a tablespoon. Like, that's got 6 loads in it. It doesn't look
Wow.
like 6 loads, but that's 6 loads. But yeah, it's
and that is probably the most Andre thing ever that you are now.
It was when I first.
What was Candy's take on this?
She said, "I saw that comment." And I seriously hadn't really thought about doing it at all until I was kind of like, why not? I got nothing else to do today, so may as well just pitch this. So we'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I become a laundry soap tycoon.
Yeah.
The JoJo at La Fontaine Market, she's like, oh yeah, she likes the smell of it. She likes the container. I got to get more of those containers.
Yeah.
I had to settle, because when she said yes, I was like, oh, I don't have any more of those containers. So I had to go to Walmart and buy some other ones. And a whole thing. But
how much is she selling your soap for?
$2.75 for that size. And then because I had to get different containers, there's a double size. So that's 4 ounces. I had to get 8-ounce sizes for $5.
Yeah.
So you get a little bit of savings.
Okay.
But yeah, you can have that for free there on the house.
I appreciate it.
But she was like, yeah, you should put it. Are you selling it online? And I was like, no, I'm not. That's a great idea. So I got to start working on my web page for that.
Well, you're doing your design stuff, so you can design a logo.
I've got a little idea for my Delicate Shades.
Yeah.
Really just a t-shirt, picture of a t-shirt. But it's a start.
Yeah.
Speaking of sponsorships, Delicate Shades soap, laundry soap. So yeah, that's fun. And we'll see where that goes. Acres of Wildlife, I already talked about. And Spreadshirt, I already talked about too. That's my t-shirt designs.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Basically just Spreadshirt's a online t-shirt, or any sort of apparel, cups, anything.
Yep.
Have you ever heard of Redbubble?
Yes.
Yeah, so same type of deal.
Yep.
Only it's shirts, I guess. I don't know what Redbubble do. They do a bunch of apparel?
They do. Yeah, they do all kinds of. I was looking up. This actually ties into what I've got coming up. But I was looking up like cards or something like that to get some ideas, because I always make homemade anniversary cards for my wife, and our anniversary is tomorrow. And so I don't necessarily. Sometimes I come up with my own idea, but a lot of times I just kind of look at other ideas and then go from there. But so anyway, it took me to Redbubble, and I did not realize that they had cards on their site in addition to clothes and all kinds of stuff. So anyway, that
would be, because I've always kind of wanted to make greeting cards anyway. So that's a good platform. I don't think Spreadshirt doesn't have cards that I've seen, but they also have like a spread shop.
Okay, so maybe there's something under there. Yep. So what's new with us? So my anniversary is tomorrow, so that's been something I've been working on my card. We're going out, spending way too much money on. It's sort of like I don't know if you watch Parks and Rec, but the whole treat yourself day is sort of what we do for anniversary. So we're gonna go out and drop ridiculous amounts of money on overpriced but delicious food. And,
awesome.
Yep, and do some of those things.
What have you done in the past?
One of the things we really like to do is go like on sunset sailing cruises, especially ones like they do wine tasting ones, and you can go out and there'll be a sommelier there and food and wine, and they do that, and then we from there we'll go to we like to have oysters. So we go to a bar in Portland. We go to the same bar every time, and usually their Little League World Series is playing. So we watch the Little League World Series and have a lot of oysters and pay $150 for the pre-dinner thing, and then we go to one of the fancy restaurants out in the Old Port, and Usually changes it up. Sometimes we do like massages and things like that. But this year, I think we're going to limit it to dinner so next week, I told you we start school officially, but not until the end of the week. And so every day next week, we're going to go into school and then go off and do, lunch or sushi or something kind of cool. So we're going to take it a little easier tomorrow. We're going to do something special every day in the afternoons. So we're trying to keep the budget a little tighter than it normally would be on our anniversary. But
that's a good idea. Extend to, people have their birthday.
Yeah, so it's like anniversary week kind of thing. And it's also sort of wraps up the end of the summer and do some fun things. So one of the ideas, this leads me to the next thing that I've been working on, is a card idea. So the other night, and this sort of encapsulates why my wife and I are like the perfect match and why, I like my wife, why we work out so well. But anyway, we were sitting on the couch watching something, Succession, I think. And my dog came up on the couch and sat down next to my wife. And she said, Cooper's ass takes my breath away, because he like sat on her stomach and like literally took her breath away. But we also probably weren't entirely sober at that point. And so I'm like, did you just hear what you said? And so that turned into like 10 minutes of like rolling on the floor and belly laughter. And then, so what I've been doing since then is every time Cooper comes into the room, I try to play some song or clip that has to do with that. So like some of the ones I did were like Rex and Effects, Rump Shaker, or Back That Ass Up by Juvenile, or so it's been like a running joke. So I've been trying to come up with as many like ass related references or songs as I could. So Anaconda was one I thought of on my way. Well, that and Sir Mix-a-Lot, Baby Got Back, but also Anaconda by Nicki Minaj. So like I'm trying to grow my list to see how long I can keep it going without repeating things. And what made it actually really fun, besides the fact that we were like dying of laughter and couldn't stop for 10 minutes, was that my daughter's bedroom is next. She's now downstairs and is right next to the living room. And she was actually in the bathroom, like doing whatever a teenage girl does in the bathroom for like 2 hours. I think she was doing her hair or something before she went to bed. But she heard us the whole time and came out and like just thought it was the funniest conversation she had ever heard. And and then not sober me was trying to explain to her, like, so, having the dad talk, like, this is what you need to look for when you get married. Is find somebody who's going to laugh with you. And so anyway, that was really nice. And so one of my ideas for the card is doing some kind of sexy dog cartoon, like drawing of him, and somehow work that in, except I, of course, made the mistake of like actually Googling sexy dog cartoons on my phone. And I knew what the results would be, but there was actually like a little warning that's like, you are about to see inappropriate, when I did Google images, and some of them were pretty disturbing. But anyway, so I'm thinking about that. And the last thing I had on there was ER, because while you were at Acres of Wildlife, we spent 9 hours at the ER because my daughter, Rowan, who's my youngest, she's 9, she, a couple weeks ago, had a swollen knee. And at first she's saying, oh, my knee hurts. And like any good parents were like, suck it up. Like, you're fine. And then it started swelling and we're like, you're totally cool. We actually sent her to rock climbing camp for a week with this big, giant swollen knee. And then anyway, so we finally, when we realized it wasn't going away after a week and a half, we took her to the doctor. And so we had to, she's deathly afraid of needles. They had to do blood work. And so it took 4 of us to hold that down to see what it was, because structurally, like, it seemed fine. And so they ran some blood tests, and then they also sent us over to the sports doctor because they wanted to drain fluid off her knee. And she's, needles for that are like this, like gigantic. And so she's terrified of needles. Like, COVID's been awesome because we have to get all those vaccinated. And every single time it's like us putting her in a hold to do it, which I'm sure is super traumatic. But anyway, they tried to do it at the knee doctor and they couldn't do that. And she's like, we're going to have to send you to the ER. And it was like, 5 o'clock on a Friday night or something. And we're like, or Monday, I think it was a Monday night. We're like, all right. And of course my wife is like, she doesn't, another reason we're a good match is like, I'm neurotic and like, anxious about everything. And then she's like way down here. And so usually we meet somewhere in the middle, which is good. But, of course she's like, let's just go tomorrow. And they're like, no, you need to go now because we think it could be an infection and she'll need to have surgery and
Right.
stuff. So we go over there, and I haven't been to an ER, thank God, in a very long time. But like we walk in and we immediately see this guy who is not sober with a gaping leg wound.
Oh.
And so my daughter's just like, ah! And what's fortunate is they have like a separate children's one they eventually put us in. But we were in there for 2 Encantos. We started counting time in Encantos because we were showing the movie Encanto. We watched the full movie twice in this waiting room.
I've even seen it once.
Right. Yeah. No. So yeah, we saw it 2 full times. We watched the first. We're like, oh, it's kind of nice that they have Encanto on. It'll help pass the time. And then the movie ended, and somebody's like, oh, could you put a new movie on? And so they just played Encanto again. It was also freezing cold. We had no food at this point. And then we got into a room, and she got her own room, and then it took like another couple hours in that room before they came in and saw her, and then they had to give her drugs to like make her like sedatives essentially, and then we had to wait for those to kick in, so they eventually started doing it, and she was asleep at that point, and she woke up to them trying to do it, and then she starts even sedated, like thrashing around. It took 6 of us to hold her down, and then they get done. We're like, oh great, we can go home now. They're like, oh no, you have to wait for the results because it if it is an infection, they'd have to do surgery right away to like clean it out and everything. So we had to wait another 2 hours, and then we started counting time not in Cantos but in HGTV episodes because it started like repeating all the ones we'd seen earlier. Anyway, she has Lyme disease is what it turns out is what it was. But the good news is very treatable.
So that's a symptom of Lyme disease?
Yeah, it can cause arthritis or swelling in joints. But the good news, they said, if it does do that, number one, she has it, so you can treat it. But number two, it doesn't tend to attack any other areas of the body, and so you don't get a lot of the you don't usually get a lot of the other symptoms that kind of scary symptoms people hear about. But anyway, if your child has a swollen knee, get it taken care of, and So anyway, that's how we spent that night. And one of the side effects of the medicine is that she can't go in the sun because it can cause very bad sunburn. So she's finally off after being in summer camp all year. And we're like, oh, we're gonna go to the beach and the lake, and now it's like,
nope.
Yeah. So
that's too bad.
So that's what's new with her.
How's she doing now?
She's great. The whole time she's like, wasn't complaining about it. She just couldn't bend it very well.
Right. Yeah.
And we're like, go ahead, just go rock climb.
Oh man, that's awful.
You don't need your knees to rock climb.
No, I definitely know the struggle with the child who is deathly afraid of needles with the vaccine. So we went through the same thing. Yeah. But oof, man, that's not fun.
Yeah, not fun.
But you got to see Encanto a couple times.
I did, and I had not seen Encanto. I've heard all the songs because the kids, like we had kids eating lunch in our classroom, and I'd put on music, but you can't put on like the radio. You have to play like Kids Bop and that kind of thing. Which the kids hate, but they loved all the Encanto songs and they would sing them all the time.
I do want to see it just because of that Bruno song.
Yeah,
I hear that all the time.
Yeah, it's like, it's fine.
My family sings it. They've all seen it, but not me.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, while you're saying that, there was something. It wasn't that important, I guess. But cool. Headlines. Any headline news?
No. There's nothing going on in the world.
Oh,
did you put some stuff down? Like it's below.
That was
topic of interest.
Which Eric Dorr would be
the headline in Maine. Yep, right now.
Did you see that story?
I am aware of that story. Yes.
That's messed up.
Yeah.
So if you haven't heard, in Skowhegan, Maine, there's a dude named Eric Dorr, if I'm pronouncing the name right. And from all the Facebook posts, I got so fascinated with it. So this guy is co-owner of a bar up in Skowhegan, Old Mill Pub, I think it was called, or is called, and it's not funny. Somebody caught him.
It's definitely not a funny story.
It's not a funny story. It's a horrible story. Yeah. But somebody caught him on camera taking a picture, recording what appears to be recording upskirt this woman, teenager.
19-year-old, yeah.
Oh, she was 19. Okay. Yeah. So that was one of the things. Like, you read those stories and they use teenagers so
right, that's a tricky one.
It's like, all right, are you talking about a 13-year-old or are you talking about an adult teenager?
I mean, either one is terrible.
Yeah, but terrible. But it changes it a little.
Right.
But anyway, so the picture is shown of him like behind her with the camera doing the upskirt shot, and somebody in a building next door took a video of the whole thing, the whole interaction.
And they said they were videotaping because I guess he'd been taking some what looked like some weird pictures of her even before that.
Okay.
And so somebody saw this going on and was like, I'm going to videotape this dude because he's doing something really creepy with this young girl. And they didn't know how old she was. And so that's where it came from.
Okay.
That was one of my questions. Was like, why is somebody videotape? But
I was wondering that too, because in the initial story that came out, they said something like a client of the woman, or it was just weird.
Yeah.
And bottom line, it doesn't really matter. The bottom line is this dude was gross and got caught doing it. And I was reading a bunch of like the Reddit posts and stuff about it. Apparently he does not have a great reputation.
Yeah.
Anyway, according to that, a racist, a homophobe, everything else.
Right. People are posting about their interactions with him and stuff like that. And he has been charged. I don't know if you saw that today, but he was officially charged with like it's a misdemeanor. I don't remember what exactly it was, but it was, he was turned himself into the police or met with the police and his lawyer and was charged today.
Yeah, that was one of the questions that came up. Like what could he be charged with? And because they weren't sure. The question specifically was, is it illegal to film upskirt? Yeah. But somebody said something about sexual assault.
Yeah. But one of the I think interesting things that came out of it, I'm sure one of the reasons you have it on here is the public reaction to it. And so there's like a lot of people about, commenting on boycotting his business or going to his business and protesting and things like that. And so their response was he owned this business with a bunch of his family members. And so they put out a statement saying that he is, he's resigned from the business, essentially that he is no longer a co-owner, but apparently his wife is still a co-owner and like his brother is still it's still a family business. And they also put out something about, think about all of our employees who need, they need paychecks, they need tips, they need all these things. And, if you're boycotting our business or canceling our business, you're putting all these people out of work or their livelihood in jeopardy. And so it's just I think the interesting thought is, okay, so what is the appropriate response to this? Should people be boycotting this business? Should they, is there some legitimacy to this argument that you need to still patronize us because of our employees who are innocent in this?
Yeah.
And I think that's where the interesting part of the conversation is.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, so there's that cancel culture.
Yeah.
Which, good, bad, or indifferent, it's out there.
Yeah.
And you typically see that and, where it's so far removed from you. Like, oh, such and such actor did this, and so I'm never going to watch his movies again.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
and really, how much of an effect does that really have? But this, where it's local, and you like you say, the families involved with it and all that stuff. I saw that, and some of the people were talking about the fact where, she's got the stake in it and stuff, but as long as she's still married to him, like
he's still profiting from it. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
or he could no longer be a co-owner, but even if it's still in his family, they can be giving him money and that sort of thing.
And some commenter like made a very good point about it. Like, it's all speculation right now. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if there's going to be a divorce, like if he's going to go off to jail or whatever the case may be. But it's something certainly to think about, because what if not? And if you think about his past, like if everybody knows about his past, he's been with his wife for this long. She's put up with that. Like, who's to say she wouldn't put up with it more?
Right. And it is tough to do. Like, I mean, you can assume that maybe, again, if a lot of those things that people are saying are true, like, okay, so maybe his family knows, obviously they probably don't know that he takes upskirt photos of people, but like they may know, he is homophobic or racist, assuming again that all those things people are posting are true, which, we don't know. But, and so that's what a lot of people are saying too, is like, they know who this guy is and they support him. But then there's the other side is, well, do they really know like that he does, are they innocent in this too? They're going to have their business destroyed because of this guy who's, a co-owner doing something creepy and terrible, Like, how does that, are they innocent or are they part of it? So
I feel like not the only way, but I feel like a way out of the situation for the business is to basically like just step up fundraising or whatever, start putting on events for anti skirt looker up, or whatever you want to do. Like, you have to make yourself a presence there in the community to say, look, this happened and here's what we can't change what happened, whatever. Right. And if you're really concerned that he's getting all this, going to be continuing to profit out of it, well, if you continue to come to our business, know that we're going to be supporting these groups and stuff or whatever. Right. And it's it's not the perfect solution, but it's
well, and it's also interesting too, because we had a recent thing in Maine where there was the issue with the vet, right? Do you remember that story? Mm-hmm. So this family posted essentially saying how their dog needed some kind of expensive operation, and they couldn't. It was like thousands of dollars, and they weren't going to be able to pay for it. And so the vet basically forced them to give up the dog to them, so that, and then they did the medical, the operation, and then gave it away to some other family or something. And so they were saying, basically they forced us to give up our pet because we are poor and couldn't afford this procedure. And everybody started like piling on, like, oh, this is terrible. I think WGME actually picked up the story and reported it. And people were getting really upset with this vet clinic. And the vet clinic at first was like, oh, sorry, we can't comment on this. It's sort of like the HIPAA thing where it's like, we can't talk about our patients, even though I don't think it's quite the same, but like, that was essentially their thing. And they had chosen not to comment on the story. They knew it was coming out and they said, we can't comment on it. And so they put out the story that only had the one side. Well, eventually, as they were getting all this hate and people saying we boycott it and everything, they said, okay, we're going to give our side of the story. And essentially it was them saying like, I can't remember the exact thing, but it was basically like they couldn't afford this treatment. We needed to save this dog's life. And the only way we could do it was by, taking it and giving it to somebody that could afford the treat. Like, we can't do everything for free for pets. Like we're just struggling to make our own financial things meet. And so there's this whole other side to the story, and people realized, oh, it's not how it was first presented. Right. And so GME got kind of a lot of flack because they sort of put out the story that didn't end up fully being accurate or telling the whole thing. But again, it's that danger of, and I'm certainly not one of those people that's like anti-cancel culture, but for me, it's sort of like we obviously rush to judgment on things. And again, I think it looked pretty awful in that video. And I think if this guy's a creep, then he deserves whatever's coming to him. But I also am kind of like step back, wait for, all the facts to come out. I certainly wouldn't fault anybody who decided not to go to that and support that business. Mm-hmm. Like, great. I think legitimately you got a good reason not to. Yeah. I probably wouldn't be going. It doesn't sound like a place I'd probably go anyway. Yeah. So, interestingly enough, this obviously gets a lot of attention because of social media and everything. But I mean, there was locally another story a number of years ago. There was a restaurant called Cole Farms up in Gray, and one of the owners that was in the family got in trouble for pedophilia. And so that became the same thing where it's like, should people go and support this business that's a big part of the community up there and employs all these people or not? And I know like my dad, who used to go there all the time he was in a sportsman's club, and his best friend lived up in Gray. And so they would always go there, stopped eating there for years and years and years because this guy was, until that guy died, I think he, wouldn't go to the restaurant anymore. Finally, like, right. Sure. So it's kind of interesting. Like people are like, oh, it's like a big deal. But it's like, we've seen this kind of thing before, even before the cancel culture and the social media and stuff. Right. These same things were still kind of happening, just not maybe to this.
That's fair. And I'm the same way. I don't, to be honest, I mean, I don't have a stake in it at all. Exactly, I mean, it doesn't matter what my opinion is one way or the other, whether I'm not a legal counselor.
We are not experts, as we have established.
But it's kind of one of those things where I think of it from that celebrity standpoint. I'm one to very much separate the person from the art or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like, and I understand there is the financial side of it, like you're supporting them financially, but in the case of a business, like where you've got a restaurant, you're also supporting those people that work there and all that. And realistically, how much is that person really profiting from your meal there? It's tough. But at the end of the day, it really just boils down to personal conscience. For anything. Words of wisdom.
And sort of bad luck that you're working for a potentially shitty person.
And that's the other thing. I mean, the people that continue to work there, I mean, what do you say about them? Is it today's job market, for example?
Yeah.
I don't see where Skowhegan may be kind of weird.
Like, right. I don't know what the job, what it's like in Scout, but I'd certainly be looking for another employer if that was the case.
I'm sure there are places, but again,
I'm
sorry for the woman involved. That sucks for her too. I mean, like to be blasted out there.
Yeah, it's like totally public. And embarrassing, I'm sure. And although certainly not that any of it was her fault or anything like that, but still, you don't want to have your name associated with a story like that.
Right, exactly. It's tough.
Hopefully she feels like, she gets some justice in the situation with whatever the outcome is. And
maybe she writes a memoir.
All right, I'm interested in the next two things on here because I have no idea what they are about.
So Westbrook, I get in this run of like, I don't know why I think it's going to change every time. Because it doesn't, but I'll hop on YouTube and look up Westbrook, Maine, and just see what videos pop up. And usually it's just like real estate videos, and they've got a lot of business profile videos up there now over the past couple years. But there's one on there that I've seen a couple times, and I forgot about it until I watched it again the other day. But it's like all about how Westbrook is this weird center for supernatural activity. And I've lived in Westbrook pretty much all my life. And you as well have lived. And so I've never considered Westbrook to be a nexus of supernatural activity at all. But the narrator of it, has this ominous voice going on, and he mentions Wessie as this mythical beast that was in Westbrook. Wessie was the large snake. There was a large snake sighted, and then there was a snake skin
that was found.
And I don't know if they ever actually found Wessie.
No.
There's a new bar at Wessie's Den, which I go to a lot over on Brown
Sponsored by Wessie's Den.
Sponsored by, there's a sticker on this someplace. But yeah, so, and then they talk about the ice disc. But the thing that gets me about the video the most is they've got these images of Westbrook, and it's not Westbrook at all. Like, I watch it like, that's not Westbrook.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not Westbrook. But it's just, you got to watch the video. I'll send you the link.
So I was trying to figure out what this was and if there was something new. And I actually found a Boston Globe article about Westbrook, Maine, and all the creepy phenomenon that have been going on there. And it talked about Wessie, and it talked about the ice disc, which I'm kind of like, it's just a big thing of ice. Like, why is everybody getting all like, okay, I mean, yeah, it's sort of cool, but like, I wouldn't say that's like a big, it's not like we're talking like Stranger Things where there's a vortex opening up to this other world and monsters and unexplained deaths. And then there was one, I guess a gravestone was found in the middle of Methodist Road. You remember that?
Yeah.
And again, they're like, it came from a graveyard in Yarmouth. So somebody stole and then put it like, that's not that creepy. Like, okay.
You know what possibly happened? Somebody stole a gravestone, put it in the back of their truck, drove through Westbrook on Methodist Road, and it fell off the back of the truck.
Or we're just idiots and we're like, we're going to put it here. And,
even if that, because somebody was like, well, no, because it was set up.
But like, so yeah, anyway, so I thought it was just interesting that the Boston Globe actually did a story on it. But that actually, a totally different note, reminds me of something I meant to tell you about. earlier. Are we done talking about Westbrook being supernatural?
Yeah.
Before? Okay, because it's going to take you in a totally different direction. So we went to New York earlier this summer, and we stayed at this lake house with my wife's family, and it's one of those Airbnb things. So like there are people and neighbors like right next to us. We did not have very much privacy. And so the first night we were there, there's this guy there and he's super nice. He's talking to us and telling us about the lake because it's this little tiny small lake, like probably the smallest lake I've ever seen, but he's telling us all about it and who lives there. And we're talking about fishing and stuff. And he offered to take me out fishing later in the week and everything. Seemed like a totally cool guy. And then as the night wore on, I think everybody went up. It was after dinner, so they're putting the kids to bed and stuff. And so we just started a fire, and that guy had a fire going. And so I'm just kind of talking to him, and he starts telling me how he's this prison guard. Oh, he starts it off with, I got to tell you something if you're going to be here. I heard, he'd heard me. We were telling like campfire stories to the kids before they went to bed. He's like, so I heard you doing that. You sound like you're really good at telling stories. I tell him I'm a teacher. He's like, all right, I've got a ghost story, but I didn't want to mention it when the kids were there. And he starts telling me how the house we were staying in, the owner's daughter, the previous owner's daughter, used to swim every morning across the lake, and she was like 11 or something, which I'm like, she was 11 swimming across the lake. But anyway, supposedly she died. She drowned in the middle of the lake. And so now she haunts the lake. And he's like, her spirit, her ghost comes out at night and you can see her and she, visits houses and stuff. And so I probably looked kind of skeptical or whatever. And the guy's like, are you a believer? I'm like, I guess so. Like, I've never really thought too much about it. And he's like, starts telling me how like, yeah, you're just skeptical because you've never experienced it. He started getting like really defensive about it, like kind of angry with me. And then he starts telling me how he's this prison guard and he works in this like super haunted prison and about all the like dead people that he's seen. And he's going on and on, like, and talking to me for like an hour about it. And it's getting like creepier and creepier and just got really, really uncomfortable. And he was getting like angry and he kept like, do you believe me? Do you believe the story? And I'm like, I'm sure if you experienced it, yeah, it must be true. Like, I'm not like anti-supernatural, whatever. I'm not like, I've never had those experiences, whatever. I'm not necessarily a believer either, but like this guy dude was getting like really upset. But apparently they did feature on some, because he's like, I'll prove it to you. You got to watch. I can't remember what the show is called, but there was like a show where they go around and visit all these places, and they actually did one on this,
Ghost Hunters or something like that.
So it wasn't Ghost Hunters, but it was it was something on Netflix, and they did like a whole episode on it. But it was one of the more uncomfortable experiences I've ever had in my life. Like, I think at this point he'd had a number of drinks, so I think he was like super drunk, super angry, and trying to tell me all these weird ghost stories. Wow. And it was one of those things where I'm like, I don't know what to do because I don't want to like piss the guy off, because I remember seeing on like the Airbnb there were like comments like somebody would give a bad review and they're like, well, our neighbors told us blah 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 about you and you were breaking all these. So I'm like, I don't want to get a bad review from the neighbor by like pissing him off on the first day we're there. We're going to be there for a week with him. So I'm trying to be like nice about it, but it was.
Did you go fishing with him?
I did not go fishing with him. I successfully avoided that for the rest of the week. But
oh wow.
Anyway, all right, Westbrook Batman.
So there. I'd seen him before. Like, there's a guy that rides around on a little 3-wheel motorcycle. It's all black, and wears all black, and he's got a helmet, and he's got little bat ears on it. Mm-hmm. For the longest time, I wasn't real sure if it was.
And it's not you.
It's not me.
Okay,
not me.
Because I would have, if you had told me. I have started dressing up like Batman and fighting crime in Westbrook, I would have believed that.
Yeah, no, not me.
I would have put that more believable than you selling laundry detergent. If I had to choose which one was more likely, if you'd asked me beforehand, I would have said you dressing up.
2 truths and a lie.
Yeah, exactly.
No, so I'd seen him riding around, and I always wondered if he was supposed to be a bat or a mouse. I could never really tell.
Yeah.
Because all you just see is like pointy ears and all black. No tail though. But so I went into Wessy's den a couple weeks ago before I went to Acres, and through the door walks the guy. And I was like, oh my God. And he's taking off the helmet, and I saw him, and I said out loud, "You're the man behind the mask," because I was very excited.
Yeah.
And he was not impressed with that at all. And I just went to the bathroom. But I came back and was sitting across the bar and just kind of watching him. And he's somewhat regular there, I guess, because he knows the bartender or he was talking to the bartender.
Did he know you were staring at him? Because I'm picturing you like creepily. Like...
I was kind of low key about it.
Were you there by yourself?
I was there by myself. I'm always there by myself.
Okay.
And so I'm kind of like just kind of eavesdropping on the conversation. And then there's a guy sitting at the table behind him. So he's at the bar and there's like a little table off behind him. And the guy was probably about as excited as I was to see Batman. And he like shows his Batman tattoo. And the bartender mentioned something. It's like, oh, kind of points him out, whatever. And Batman looks at him and is just like very nonplussed with it. He's like, yeah, whatever. I got one on my chest. And he just like turns around. Like, yeah, that's kind of a dick move by Batman.
So Batman's kind of an asshole.
Well, I don't want to call Batman an asshole. Like, I don't know the guy. Well, I don't know what his day is like. I don't know anything about him. I'm just kind of, this is my perspective from afar. I'm not passing judgment on Batman.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is a judgment-free zone.
Yeah, judgment-free zone.
Yeah.
This is only what I saw. And so, but then I'm like overhearing the conversation. And I'm only picking up pieces of the conversation. But Batman sounds very right-wing as he's talking to the bartender. But I don't know. But I'm very interested to keep going back to it. I've seen him there last week, too. I went during karaoke night, it might have been. And
did you perform?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I forgot it was karaoke night.
Oh, okay.
Thursday night's karaoke over there. We could go tonight. But it...
Did he do Bat Dance?
No, but...
That'd be awesome. He was like, Vicky Vale.
Oh my goodness, I should do Bat Dance there. He's there.
He might not like that.
Get the fuck up. But so, and the other thing, so he came in, and for some reason, I feel... I may be getting the stories confused because there's been a couple motorcycle accidents recently, and the people involved with those motorcycle accidents in Westbrook have died. I heard something about a guy on a 3-wheel bike getting into a motorcycle accident, and I assumed it was him because I heard some other conversation about Batman or being out of commission for a little while.
Okay.
But he came in, he's got like full body armor type stuff on, like heavy plated stuff, and he's like taking it off. It was one of the hot days.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, well, maybe it's just for protection. But he's also got like ammo pouch type things. I've got one down someplace around here, but like it's like the old school, and he's got those
like a utility belt.
Yeah, like a utility belt thing. So I'm like, what is this guy's deal?
Like he really like dresses up.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, and so I look.
But he's also not the kind of guy that you can just go strike up a conversation. No. He doesn't seem like he'd be open to that.
I have to get very drunk first before I do that.
I mean, Batman's personality is pretty like rigid and kind of standoffish.
But Bruce Wayne's so cool.
Yeah.
He needs to tap into Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
Tap that Wayne. That's what I'm saying. The other thing, there was another thing, but I just spaced on it. Whatever it was. So he had the utility belt going on. He had the full body armor, and yeah, he's I think I want to approach him at some point in time because I know he goes to Wesley's Den quite frequently, apparently, and he knows the bartender. Maybe I'll ask the bartender. That's what I do. I'll ask Pedro.
Yeah,
be like Pedro is his name. I'm not just making up a bartender name, but. I'll ask him about him.
That's what make sure it's like it's in a very respectful. Like I'm genuinely interested in.
Yes, I this is not a farce.
I'm not making fun of him. I just am curious about.
That's what before this, I was looking all online, like Batman Westbrook made. Like I Googled everything I could, and I find nothing. I looked on Facebook, I found nothing. So he's a mystery, and I will solve this mystery.
I have total faith that you will figure it out. I honestly think you will.
What time is it now? 8:21.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll make my way to after this. So yeah, the last thing I think is really we need to come down to
we got a lot of
show name.
Possible.
Yeah, we got a lot of. I think we can cancel out a lot of these first ones. That was me getting my juices flowing.
Yeah.
So King of Westbrook is. I think I'm going to make a website of that. I was
King of
looking up.
Westbrook.
King
I
of
think you
Westbrook.
should.
Yeah,
I think it's kind of cool.
It's not taken.
Yep.
Brimful of Westbrook. And
I know where that comes from. Yeah.
That just going back to Pat's favorite
Yeah.
group and song, Brimful of Asha on the 45.
Which I did enjoy. I don't know how that became my favorite, but okay.
I don't know how it became your
Yeah,
favorite either.
you've associated that song as my. I don't know what song I'd associate with you, but
I did notice we have matching pants.
Yeah, we do
literally
very similar.
Are they Levi's?
No, these are Old Navy, I think.
Oh, okay, yeah, but yeah,
very similar color.
Hey, blue pants.
Yeah,
blue pants is the name of the show.
Who thought we'd both be wearing blue jeans?
Yeah, blue jeans.
Yeah.
After the storm, I don't know where that came.
Yeah,
from.
I was just trying to figure out was there a storm that?
No, I think I was really just spitballing at this point.
Yeah.
Chatty Fatties, Panda Beat, the Straight Periscope, and I kind of like that one just because it's a straight periscope's really just a telescope.
Yeah, it also sounds a little phallic though, and it's like.
Yeah, okay, let's pass on that one. Kung Fu Chatting, AM Dusk, which was actually the name of. No.
Did that come from AM Dawn?
PM Dawn.
Or PM Dawn?
Yeah,
Yes.
I was thinking
AM Dusk, the opposite of that. Yeah, sorry.
Rodney King's Nephew, random one. Space Cowboys, Delicate Shades. We can't take that one. That's gonna be my longest.
Don't want any confusion.
No.
There.
Whatever the show name is, brought to you by Delicate Shades.
Yeah.
Feet on the Ground, and that is a reference to the Pixies song "Where Is My Mind."
Yeah. Okay.
Clouds, Feet on the Ground.
Yep.
Casante's Corner. I don't really want to use that. The Haberdashery and Sassafras Show is probably my favorite one on here. But I don't know why. It just sounds good. Haberdashery and Sassafras Show. But I was thinking about it today because it popped in my head again, and I would change it to the Haberdash and Sassafras Show.
It sounds a little, okay.
Yeah. The Morning Poo. I don't really like that. I was thinking of radio shows.
Yeah.
Main Stalling, Main Balling, Main Crawling, and Main Trawling.
Was there a reason you were going with that sound, or did one just go right naturally into the other as far as popping into your head?
Main Calling. For the
right.
Yep. Show,
okay. Yeah.
And I just kind of ran with that. And then I think you took over from there.
No, Alas, We've Begun is still you.
Okay. It was Eastern Lights still me.
Eastern Lights is still you.
Okay, this is where I forgot.
Yep. And then I took over. The other podcast comes from one of my favorite stories to tell about college, where in our freshman dorm, there was me as Pat, and then there was another guy named Pat. And I remember talking to, I want to say it might have been like Anna Dixon and like Bobby or somebody. And anyway, they were referring to that Pat as the hot Pat. and I was part of the conversation. So I don't know if they were intentionally trying to be insulting. And so anyway, I took on the other Pat. It's sort of like there's the hot Pat and there's the other Pat. But at the same time, I was kind of like, oh, he would be the hotter of the two Pats. Like, okay. So I wasn't like really insulted by it, but it was like,
I'm right here.
Right. So, like, oh, well, there's the other podcast.
I like that.
Also known as, simply because we don't have a name. So that way we could always change it. Or similar idea with the podcast formerly known as.
I like that one.
Yeah.
Because I like Prince. And that's it.
Awesome.
Homage to him. And we've talked about Bat Dance enough.
Yeah. And then there was that whole idea of our viewership right now is not very large. So that whole idea of like we're talking into, is anybody listening to what we're saying besides us? So those next ones are takes on that. Like, can anybody hear me? Is anybody out there talking to the abyss, talking to ourselves? We've got Nards was a suggestion by my wife because our initial podcast was about Monster Squad. And then Heroes of Westbrook and Masters of Westbrook came from your King of Westbrook idea. Yeah. I don't know where Saving Andre came from or what that would necessarily reference other than like we're saving Andre. I was thinking, trying to think of things that would have your name in it because this is sort of your, I feel like it's your thing. And I've sort of been like the co-host who's not always there. You're a little more committed. I feel like I'm committed to it now, but like it was really, you were the driving force behind it. So I want to give you some credit there. Andre and Sons, I thought was just interesting because I'm not really your son.
Yeah.
But it'll be on there. Extra Medium is what my wife has always said was going to be her band name if she ever started one. She thinks it's the funniest thing in the world. I don't think it's the funniest thing in the world, but I get the whole, like,
it's not large.
It can't
extra medium.
It can't be Extra Medium. And then I think you may have taken back over. No, Don't Listen to Us. That was me still. And we don't know what we're talking about. And I'm not an expert, but are all plays on the fact that we don't do research and aren't experts on any of the things we talk about.
I took over Westbrook
Then you
Warriors.
took over Westbrook Warriors.
That was all I put.
Which that would be a reference to a college beer dye partnership name. And then Look Who's Talking is obviously from the Look Who's Talking movie franchise.
Finest franchise ever made.
Yeah. And I still love our idea of let's give them something to talk about with like random other songs as the intro song. And then Hello, Our Name Is Blank would be like one of those like,
oh, that little
like
thing,
hello, my name is, and then we don't have one.
I mean, that's
so people can fill it in with, you know.
I like Hello, Our Name Is. I like that one because that's also an easy logo.
Right, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I like the other podcast, and We've Got Nards. I'm a fan of. I really am a fan of Extra Medium, but I don't want to take that from Andrea's band if she needs that at some point.
Or you could, extend that to the Extra Medium podcast. I don't think she'll ever have a band unless somebody needs a clarinet player who hasn't played since high school.
I didn't make that happen.
Well, you guys, you've got all your stuff. She can come play clarinet. You guys can play the intro song.
Jam out.
So yeah, I don't know how we make a decision with all of these. I don't know if there's anything that really. You mentioned a few. I don't know if we want to put it out to all of our viewers to vote on.
Here's what I'm going to do real quick.
Get feedback on some of our social media accounts.
Is there? We'll check these names real quick. So,
that's true. Yes.
Which We've Got Nards.
It's probably like some
teenagers. All right, We've Got Nards.
We've Got Worms. I saw.
Yeah, We've Got Worms. The Monster Squad. Wolfman's Got Nards. Secret Level. Wolfman's Got. So We've Got Nards is. That's in the mix.
Okay.
What was the other one?
There's the other podcast. That one I can see somebody having.
Yeah. I know there's the last podcast on the left. Other podcast. The other Latif. Other stories. The other stories. Oh man, you're good at picking ones that haven't been taken. All right, and then Hello, Our Name Is. Hello, Our Name Is podcast. Hello, My Name Is podcast. Hello, My Name Is okay. Hello, My Name Is exists. So we're gonna take
wait, go up for a second. A podcast from two friends about curiosity and connecting people.
Oh.
Have we already?
Oh my God! Time travel. This is this is back in 2018, so I don't think we could certainly pick this up if they haven't done anything for 4 years. I gotta start listening to this one.
Yeah, there you go.
Society and Culture. They only did 10.
11.
We wrote a book. Oh my goodness! I teach yoga.
So do they have? Are they bringing on people that like talk about these things?
Yeah, I don't know.
Interesting.
All right. All right, we got this 3 to choose from, I think.
You think these are your 3 favorite out of the list?
Those are my 3 favorite. Do you have any other? Oh, you know what? Actually, my absolute, the podcast formerly known as.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
We'll check that one real quick. The podcast formerly known. You know what? I hate it when people do that. Talk while they type.
Oh.
Yeah. Podcast formerly known as podcast.
Yeah.
Is already.
Mark Dallas and Roy Bryson's career comes to mind alongside Jimmy Carr and Josh, who bring up our celebrity sports. Okay.
Yeah, we can't take that one.
All right. So that one's off.
We'll decide. I'm thinking it's my big pushes for the Hello Our Name is. But I want to listen to that other one. Do you have a preference other than that?
No, not really.
I'm
Well, I don't. So yeah, do you want to like think about it?
Yeah,
Do
we'll
you
think
want
about it.
Okay. Or narrow it down, put it out for some feedback, or we could do it like the style my family does when we can't decide where to go out to eat. We just keep crossing off things on the list until we get stuff. But I'm fine with any of the ones that you mentioned. So
cool. All right. So what are we gonna review next time?
Are we gonna review something next time?
Do we want to? I haven't said next time we'll review topics. So
okay.
Now we can discuss it after the fact.
We'll figure it out.
We're pushing 2 hours here.
Yeah.
And it's getting warm.
Yeah.
So I don't have the whiteboards up here.
Okay. We will save
got
our haiku.
paper. Yeah, we'll save our haiku for later. This will be the first podcast where we don't do a haiku. No, it won't. All right. That was fun.
Yeah, that's good. Until next time.
Till next time. This is the one. See, this is the problem. You got 14,000 keyboards and mice. Bye-bye. I didn't mention $1 Million
There you go.